Hey guys, I'm back with another video. Today I wanted to talk about something a bit more personal that I think would help you understand a bit about who I am. So today I wanted to go for a more like coffee chat situation, as if like we're on a date and then I'm just talking to you like you're my best friend. Got myself a cup of tea. So I guess if I'm going to tell you about myself, the best way to start is to give a little story, a little background about who I am and how I got into this whole social media journey. So growing up, I was always someone who was in the center of attention. I don't know why or how. I just was always someone that people looked at, that people looked towards, not necessarily looked up to, but just they were constantly aware of. Maybe just my personality. I was always very, very extroverted. I did the MBTI test and it came up as 97% extrovert. So ever since I was like 4 years old, I remember my mom told me this story when I was a kid. She said at daycare, I would like pick the paint off of the walls. So I just like use my finger and like dig at the walls. And then I would like get all the other toddlers. They would all like follow me and pick at the wall as well. So I started this little like cult when I was 4 years old apparently. And then we like scraped all the paint off of the wall in the daycare. So yeah, I think that says a little bit about me. I was always like a bit cheeky. I didn't do the things that people wanted me to do or that were like correct. I just did whatever I wanted to. And I also like had a lot of influence. I could draw attention ever since I was really, really young. So as I got a bit older and I kind of entered into high school, I think that kind of energy kept with me. People even told me like when I first saw you at school, I was like really intimidated by you. And I didn't understand really why, because I don't think I'm like a very intimidating person in general. I don't have that, height and that like stance that intimidates people. I'm a small girl. I always found that weird that like people would even like be scared of me, which is what a lot of people used to tell me growing up. It was also a weird thing of like people were naturally very drawn to me. I think it's because I always spoke my mind and I always said things the way they were. I was a very conflicting personality. People either like really liked being around me or they just hated my guts. People were always waiting for me to slip up, and as soon as I did do something, they would like jump on it and be like, oh my gosh, you did this. Especially because the school that I went to was like a really small community. So if something happened, like it would just go around the whole school. I remember when I first joined high school, I felt like really out of place, even though there was like a lot of people around me. I felt like I had a lot of friends, but I didn't have any friends. And it was almost like everyone was preying on my downfall. People wanted to be friends with me, but at the same time, they wanted me to fail. I remember my very first like 2 weeks in high school, it was Valentine's Day. They were doing like a Valentine's Day store where you can purchase roses for your friends. But because it was like the first 2 weeks of high school, like, no one in year 7 got roses. So when they were doing like the rose handout, there were only 2 people in the entire cohort that got roses. It was me and this other guy. And I think the guy got a rose from like his sister or like his friend in the year above or something, so like it wasn't weird. But I got a rose and everyone was looking at me. And mind you, like I was like 12 years old at this stage. I think I was 11, I hadn't even turned 12. And usually when you get a rose, there's like a tag on it that says who it's from. But when the person was giving me the rose, they like took the tag off. Then that became like the biggest talking point and everyone was like, oh my god, who got her a rose, who got her a rose? Later, I found out that it was actually a guy in the year above that had gone to my primary school and he had bought me a rose, and then on the rose, he wrote like, your thoughts. I think the prefect saw the tag, so he ripped it off before he gave it to me. Honestly, at the time, I had no idea what was going on because you're so young and you don't even know what the word thought means. I was like, what's a thought? Like, I wasn't even offended, right? Because I didn't know what it means. And I was just sat there, I was confused. I was like, wait, I'm like 11. But looking back, I think some people, they just hate their lives so much. Like, they're just so unhappy. So they have to like pick on people that are younger than them, that are like naive and vulnerable to feel better about themselves. Because there was absolutely no reason to do that. I think when you're so young and you're so impressionable, when people try and put labels on you as a kid, you kind of like absorb all these labels because you don't have a sense of identity as to who you are. And so when someone says, oh, you are this, you are that, you take it really, really personally. If someone tells you, oh, you're really smart, you're like, okay, I'm really smart. But then it works conversely as well. If someone tells you like, hey, you're a loser, then you kind of intrinsically, you're like, okay, I'm a loser. When people kept labeling me these things and they're like, oh, she's an attention seeker, oh, she's so full of herself, like I started being like, oh yeah, I am so full of myself. And I was like leaning into these labels that people put on me. I developed a really strong sense of anxiety because I felt like I was always being watched. Like people were always preying on my downfall. Every time something bad would happen or I would do anything, I would get criticized for it all the time. All these stories that I've told so far like seem kind of negative, but there were also a lot of positives about being the center of attention all the time. And a lot of it came from visibility. With social media, it's all about visibility, about getting eyeballs, getting attention, and that's something that I'm really good at. And the benefit to that is like in a school setting, if you have a lot of visibility, people know who you are, it opens a lot of doors for you and a lot of opportunities. So I remember like teachers knew who I was. When I would like join sporting teams, like within school and out of school, the coaches and the staff members who were involved, they all kind of heard of me. And so when people know who you are, you get selected for things. So I remember I was like part of the SRC, I was like class captain, I was like captain of the volleyball team. I was like in all these clubs in all these areas. So I think in terms of social media, it was just such a no-brainer to me to like start an Instagram and a YouTube account because like I understood what it was like being watched. When you're constantly in the spotlight and people are always looking at you and looking at what you're doing, you kind of learn to cope and you learn the skill set of like developing really thick skin. You get really, really good at dealing with hate and dealing with jealousy and envy, which I got a lot of my entire life. And another reason why I started social media was because I didn't like how when other people would perceive me like in the wilderness in public, they would always like put labels on me and then try to define who I was. They would comment on the way that I dressed or the way that I talked or like what my ideas were, my opinions were, what I stood for. And I really didn't like that. And then I hated the fact that when people would gossip about you, it was something that like pissed me off because I didn't have any power over what other people said. People had these like false ideas of who I was based on a few bad apples. And I think with social media, what's really great is that you have control over your brand and your image. And every single word, every little whisper and breath that comes out of your mouth is something that you can control and that you have power over. I think that's why personal branding is so important because it gives the power back to the creator. If you were like an actor or you were like on television, then your character, your persona, you as a personality is owned by a media corporation and by other individuals. And they get to write you a script and tell you what to say and tell you how to say and how to present yourself and what to wear and how to do your hair and makeup. But with something like YouTube and Instagram, you get to say things exactly the way that you want to say it. You get to create this image about yourself. You have so much power over your life. You can choose to collab with certain people. You can choose what ideas you put out. It's actually a really creative and a really fun thing. And I think the reason why that I started a social media account is because I understood the power of personal brand. I've been following people in the social media space for a long time. And I also have friends that like dabble in content creation. I wanted to put myself out there and also push myself out of my comfort zone. I always had a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I wanted to say, but I was always too scared to put it out on the internet. Seeing so many people around me, especially people like Stephen Moon, who is literally my age in my cohort, or Joy Shi, Jaden Lay, these people, they're all the same age as me and they're all doing the same kinds of things. They're putting themselves out there on the internet and they're building a personal brand and creating an image. I was like really inspired by these people, so I decided, okay, you know what, like I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna talk on camera. I'm gonna yap in front of an audience, and if I get made fun of, then I get made fun of. I'm really grateful to all my friends that supported me because when I started, I was literally so terrified of like people looking at me and judging me. But in my head, I was like, people are already looking at me. People are already judging me. I may as well give them something to judge and give them something to look at. If you're gonna judge me, at least judge me for who I am and not judge me for someone that you created in your head. I don't think I could really do something as bold as this without having such supportive, amazing people in my life. I guess that's like who I am, that's my journey. I'm obviously like really early in the journey of social media, but I know that I want to do it long term, that personal branding is something that is like really important to me. And I'm currently like cooking up a lot of really fun and interesting things. So like keep your eyes peeled. I'm going headfirst into this marketing thing. And so you're probably going to see my face pop up around a lot. And so like if you're excited about this journey, like follow this YouTube account, follow my Instagram. There's gonna be a lot of like exciting things that I release. Leave a comment if you thought it was interesting. Okay.